King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Butterfly 3000 album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here, and I chat about the latest in what is an ongoing saga of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. You know these guys. I'm talking about them constantly because they are pushing out albums constantly. These guys are Australian psych rock and heavy psych titans. And in the last 10 years or so, not even, in like the last 5 years, it feels like 10 years because they're constantly putting out music. But in the last like 5 years or so, they have done it all very quickly too. What's so exciting about being a King Gizzard fan right now is A, you don't know when you're going to hear from them. You won't be too shocked to hear from them 2 to 3 times a year. Not only that, you won't even know what genre they're touching down on. Just in the last 2 years alone, they've touched down from everything like eco-friendly robo-funk on Fishing for Fishies to a straight-up thrash metal album on Infest the Rat's Nest. Not only that, but between late last year and early this year, we got a double album from them that was actually pretty great. But leading up to this new one, Butterfly 3000, Stu and the boys from King Gizzard made it very clear they weren't releasing any singles from this album because they wanted the sound of this album to be very fresh upon first listen. And this album shows King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard diving headfirst into the world of Neo-Psychedelia. And you know what? That doesn't sound too far out of their comfort zone, but when this album is good, it's honestly some of their most instantaneous and genuinely catchy material in years. Take, for example, the album's intro, Yours. It's very bubbly, it's very immediate. I mean, you genuinely have no idea where to hear these guys these days. This is a soaring, super catchy tune powered by a whole lot of midis, let me tell you. And you know what? Coming from a guy that actually enjoys King Gizzard at their darkest and their weirdest and freakiest, this is actually really fun. It's just super breezy and very likable. Like, I will say this, though, it's not super deep and it's not nearly as out there as it actually could be. But it's still very likable, as is Shanghai. And let me just say, I hope you guys like synths because there is a lot of them on this album, as well as this weird lo-fi production. In a weird way, it almost reminds me of, Paper Mache Dream Balloon era from them, just because it's so catchy and carefree. I actually really love this, and this track is one of the freakiest of the bunch. I also really love Dreams, at least for the moment. This just seems to fit very snugly into the very spacey, odd world of King Gizzard. When this album is good, one of the main reasons that it is good, it just sounds like it belongs. It sounds like it just, has a place in the King Gizzard discography. And for the moment, this just has this level of campiness that King Gizzard pull off so well. Also, Interior People may be the best track here. It's so funny though, like as great as this track is, it also kind of sheds light on what I don't like about some of the rest of this album. Take for example, this track, Interior People. Like, this is such a bare bones album that things like piano and a little added guitar on this track absolutely wow me. And while for the moment it's actually working for them, it in the long run kind of hurts this album. But for the moment, this is so sharp. And those soulful vocals, woo! On top of that, this track just to me feels like a complete thought from start to finish. But I think this album's biggest issue is that I don't think that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard go far enough down this rabbit hole. Their ability to jump from one style to another style, from album to album, is very exciting. It makes being a fan of theirs super exciting. However, when they have an album that is a little underwhelming, like this one, it makes me really wish they'd slow down a little bit. This album, at the end of the day, sounds like it should have been, left on the burner a little bit more. Blue Morpho is a weird one. I feel like this is a track that doesn't know what it wants to be. It's certainly on the more tense side of things. I like how paranoid this track is. But in this case, I don't think King Gizzard go all the way with it. This track could have been the dark underbelly to this album that it desperately needs. But it just kind of comes off as more of the same and a little disappointing. And Your Love, very late in the album, is by far my least favorite track here. This track has a majesty to it that I absolutely, really respect and thought I was going to be a whole lot more into. But this cluttered instrumental and super average melody is just not for me. And lyrically, this is the worst track of the bunch. And the rest of this album is so weird because I feel like a lot of the pieces are here, but like I said, this is a sound that needed to, you know, cook a little bit longer. Catching Smoke has a lot going for it. I love the genuinely freakish vocals here. Those are awesome. From an oddball perspective, this is one of the weirdest tracks here. But instrumentally, we're halfway through the album, and I feel like we need a switch up here. I do think 202 Killer Year, though, is a really great deep cut. I love the low-key funk here and the soulful vocals once again. It's still pretty straightforward, though, and fairly lo-fi in parts. A lot of this album is. But it's also airy and carefree, and I do appreciate that. And then I hear Black Hot Soup, and it's okay. This, to me, though, sounds like a jumble of, like, the sounds of Fishing for Fishies and KGLW. And nothing really stands out about it, just very average. There's a lot of decent elements to this track when you really break it down, but nothing really sways me about it. And you know what? It's a shame because in the last 40 seconds, this track gets really hellish and out of control, and that's where I love hearing King Gizzard. If I heard more of that, this track would actually be pretty badass. And Butterfly 3000, this album's finale and title track, is super disappointing. The whimsical atmosphere on this track is so intoxicating. I love it. It's got a great atmosphere as well, but what happened with the mixing? Why are the vocals so low? If they were a little bit louder and this track was just a little bit catchy, like if this had the catchy hook that 6 other tracks did here, this would be a fantastic finale, but it's not. There are a lot of weird choices on this album. Like I said, King Gizzard hop around from sound to sound, and that makes things really exciting, but when there is an album like this that is just the slightest bit half-baked, things really go downhill very fast. This could have been a very solid album if they gave this another, 6 months to really think about it and think about what they were putting into it and really wrote some better material, because when this album is on, it's some of the catchiest and most instantaneous stuff I've heard from them since, Paper Mache Dream Balloon. I don't know, at the end of the day, this has a lot going for it, but it's also very, entrance level into Neo-Psychedelia. They didn't go down the rabbit hole like I wanted them to. This could have been a freaking weird, dark album that was just as whimsical and carefree. Could have been really something. It should have cooked longer, but that's just me. I'm feeling a very strong 6 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below if you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.